Hello, welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. My name is William Hemsworth, and as always, I thank you for joining me for today's show. The show is a little late, so my apologies. My computer was updating forever this morning, so here we are, though. We're continuing on in Matthew chapter 16, and we're going to look at verses 24 through 26 today. So again, Matthew chapter 16, verses 24 through 26. And those verses say, "Then Jesus told his disciples, If any man would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his life? Or what shall a man give in return for his life?" These verses hit home, don't they? And if they don't, I think we really need to examine ourselves and our faith. And I'm sorry, I'm really blunt there, but Jesus he's challenging. He's challenging us. He's challenging us with his own passion, with what he had to endure on the cross. He's telling us that suffering and self-denial are going to be integral parts of the Christian life. And this falls in stark contrast to what some sects today, some Christian sects, will say what Christianity is. Some of them will say that, once you become a Christian, if your faith is strong enough, that you'll never get sick and you're going to be rich. Well, no, that's not what Jesus said here. In fact, I read in other verses that Jesus didn't have a home to sleep in. He kind of went around. So, this is all about discipleship. It's all about discipleship. Are we willing to pay the price to follow Jesus? That's a question all of us need to ask ourselves. If the time were to come, would we be willing to suffer for the gospel? Would we be willing to suffer for Jesus? Would we be willing to lay it all on the line to follow him? You see, there's many Christians. It's not so much common in the U.S., but in other parts of the world where once it's found out that they're a Christian, they lose their jobs. Sometimes they may lose their life. And here we complain with Facebook censors one of our Christian posts. That's not persecution. That's censorship, sure, but it's not persecution. So are we willing, let's ask ourselves honestly, are we willing to be faithful disciples and lay it all on the line when that time comes? Because like Jesus says, what profit does it gain a man to gain the world if he loses his soul? You see, the book of Revelation talks about lukewarm followers of Jesus, describes them as Jesus throwing them up, vomiting them out of their mouth. Jesus says, I wish you were hot or cold. You see, if you're a follower of Jesus, you can't be half in and half out. You got to be all in. Are we all in? We must be all in. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Daily Bible Podcast. God bless you and catch you tomorrow.